Welcome to Mccrackins Corner. Today our guest is Frank Wright. How are you doing today, Frank?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me.
What got you involved in broadcast originally?
Well, my dad got into radio in the 80s, and I kind of fell in love with it because...
Now in the 80s, where were you? Where were you, at school? Or
I was, when my dad started in radio, I was 9.
Okay.
So we lived in Kansas at the time, and he started going to broadcasting school, and I kind of followed his journey to do that. It was something that he wanted to do when he was younger and pushed it off until he was in his 30s. And then, I kind of tagged along to the radio stations and spent a lot of time at radio stations. So I fell in love with it because it's not a job. I mean, you push buttons and you listen to music and talk to people. You go to concerts every now and then or whatever the case is. So that's kind of where I started really getting the bug. I used to sneak on the radio on my dad's station in Indiana when I was 13 was the very first time I was ever on.
Really?
On the radio, doing a show without...
And what did you do? Did you do a commercial? Or?
No, I was a DJ for an hour.
Oh, you're a DJ for an hour. What did you talk about? At 13 years old?
It was music radio, so there, just kind of whatever was going on with the artist and that type of stuff. It wasn't... there wasn't a lot of talking. Probably better.
Did you do any online calls?
No, well, no, I didn't. But I mean, I know how to splice tape on a reel-to-reel machine. I know how to use that.
Well, I mean, back when you were 13 years old when you went the one time.
Yeah.
Oh, at that time.
Well, no, I did it a lot. I did it more than once.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did it a lot because I would spend the whole summer there, and the night guy at my dad's radio station, I would hang out with him the entire shift. So I would be there from like 7 at night to midnight.
Now, would you go by yourself, or did you go with your friends, or?
No, just me. It was just me there hanging out, just with the night guy, and he gave me a lot of insight about what to do and how to do radio, and I learned a lot from him that I still kind of use a little bit.
So what drew your interest to it?
Just how much fun it was. I mean, radio is not work. At XLC, I've been there 16 and a half years, and I still walk in that door, and it's not a job. So I realized that when I was younger that this was something I really wanted to do because I got to come to work, like I said, play music, hang out with people, talk to people, go to fun events, do fun things, and it was a blast. Even being around it before I worked in it, and then.
So were you more interested in the music part of it or the conversation part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say it was a big bubble of all that goodness. I was able to do something that I love to do with music and everything along those lines. Both of my parents are very musically inclined. My dad was in a band in the 60s, the 70s. My mom is a classically trained pianist. I can't play an instrument at all. So
me neither.
so I was able to enjoy all those things and be involved in the culture and be involved in the music without having to necessarily be the one performing it.
So typically when you were 13 years old, when you went on the first time, that's what, 8th grade roughly?
Yeah, probably right around there.
That freshman year. So as you went through your high school years, did you look into doing broadcast in high school?
Yeah, I looked at that. My high school had a radio program, but it was terrible. It was just a club, really. And that didn't interest me because I knew what real life was like, real radio was like, and the club didn't offer that. It was you went in and brought in some CDs and you got to play music to nobody. I mean, it wasn't even a frequency. The school didn't even hear it. So that didn't interest me. So in high school, I really kind of put that on a back burner. I would hang out with my dad for as long as he was working in radio when I could. My parents got divorced, so I would go visit him and be a part of that. He worked at some stations in Milwaukee, so I spent some time there. Learned more about satellite radio, not satellite radio, but broadcasting with programs coming over a satellite. And I always wanted to do that. I kind of put it on a back burner. I got a job senior year of high school at a collection agency, and I was making good money. And after graduating, still making decent money. So I kind of stayed in that profession for a little while. And then one of the companies I worked for lost its contract, and I was young enough that I moved back home, went to save money for a house, lost my job, stayed at home with my mom because I'm like, all right, I'm 21 at the time, I think, 22. I'm like, what other time in my life am I going to be able to sit at home with no obligation? I had no debt, no car payment, no nothing. So I took a long time off of work, and while I was off of work, I saw an ad for radio school, and I'm like, why not do this? This is
How much time was it between from when you stopped doing the radio and then you were doing the collection agency, and then you decided to take that ad on?
Probably 9 years.
Say like a 9 years hiatus.
Yeah, without doing anything really with radio. I was DJing. I was a mobile DJ a little bit. We did that on the side. To kind of stay in it, but that's a different animal too. That's nothing like what I do now, obviously, for a living. But it was nice to still do that. But I went to my interview at radio school on September 12th, 2001, the day right after 9/11. And I was really hesitant because of the turmoil of the world at the time.
Sure.
I didn't even want to go. My dad forced me to go. We went. I kind of put it off, and they were very persistent. The school was about, of course, getting my money. So, they were more concerned about that. So I agreed to it, and I interned at XLC, and literally I've been there since.
So in broadcast school, when you started, how many did you go there for a length of time?
It was a 10-month course.
A 10-month course.
We learned TV and radio there, which was really great because I never thought that I would really enjoy anything with TV. But doing the projects that we did and learning how newscasts work and stuff like that was eye-opening, and how many people it takes to run a TV show. There's a lot behind the scenes going on. So being a part of that was really cool, but my heart was in radio. I went there for radio. TV was a bonus. Met a lot of great people, and out of my class at the time of 30, 3 of us work in radio right now.
When you became an intern at XLC, you were still going to school?
Yes, still going to school and working at a collection agency, actually.
Okay, so you were going to school, you went to an intern at XLC, and in your opinion, did that help you? Was that important to you?
Wholeheartedly. Internships for that type of stuff is gold. That made the difference.
Reason being why?
Being at a radio station and getting hands-on experience taught me more than I learned in school. The benefit of XLC and why there's a couple reasons why I picked XLC. I remember when I moved to Illinois in 1990, I heard that station, and it sounded like the one that my dad worked on, so I wanted to be a part of that radio station. So that was number one that I wanted to
So
do.
was it the music you liked?
It was just the music at that time, because it sounded like my dad's station. It was Hot 102 then, and it was just a fun, young-sounding radio station. It fit my age at the time, and I dug it for that. I wanted to go to XLC because that was a station I always wanted to be on, but XLC is a non-union radio station. We're not a part of that. And the benefit of that is I can go in there and do everything. If you go to a station downtown, they're union, so you can't work on commercials.
No, so you're limited in your ability.
Yeah. So being at XLC, I could do anything on my internship. So I was able to learn how to produce a commercial. I was able to sit in and watch the DJs run the board, and every now and then they would let me push a button or two. And if I were downtown, at some stations, not all, I wouldn't have been able to have that opportunity.
I see.
Friends in my class went to the big stations, were like, well, I'm at so-and-so radio station, and they didn't get very much out of it because they just kind of sat in a chair and watched whatever they were interning for do. And
So that radio station, XLC, is that a corporate radio station, or is that like a mom and pop radio station?
We are owned by Alpha Media, and I believe it's the 4th or 5th largest radio company in the country.
Well, I mean, originally when you were an
When
intern,
I was there, it was still a corporation. It was owned at that time.
It was a corporation.
By Next Media Group, which was a fairly large small company, if that makes sense. They had a good amount of radio stations. I don't remember how many offhand, but they had them all over the country, and it was a corporation. It wasn't, Bob's Radio Group.
So as an intern, when you went in there, did you have to go run and get coffee and donuts and all that?
Never did that.
Or was it more welcoming?
It was the woman who hired me, and I interned for our promotions director, Diane Ebert, which is still at the station. She gave me opportunities in radio. She knew I wanted to be there for radio, so she made the other interns kind of do the grunt work while I was able to spend more time doing radio things. And so I owe her a ton because of my career, because she gave me that opportunity. She gave me those chances to do more than, filing and getting coffee and doing the nonsense work. Don't get me wrong, I paid my dues. I did a lot of tedious jobs that no one else wanted to do, but overall I was able to do more than others because of the passion that I had for it.
So how long did your internship actually run for?
I was hired after a month.
So you did an intern for 1 month?
Well,
And was your school? Were you still in school at that time?
I was. I still was interning, so I still did internship hours where I didn't get paid. But about after a month of me being there, I was hired on as a promotions assistant. So I went to broadcasts. I set those up. I drove the vans. I did all that type of stuff. But when
you did like remotes?
Yes, the remote broadcast.
Okay.
But when those weren't around, I was in the office trying to do things to help out the station. One of the things that there's two things that Diane told me that still stand out, and I tell our interns now. Number one, she told me that if I was able to come to the radio station, even if I wasn't able to get hours or paid or anything along those lines, to come in and spend time, because I have that opportunity to show my face and people know who I am. They see me around the radio station, and then when there is an opportunity, hey, give it to the kid that's always here hanging out. So I stayed around as much as I could, and I think in the long end of it, it paid off. The other thing that Diane told me that still rings very, very true is, and I kind of laugh at it, she's like, you are very well possibly the most famous person some people are ever going to meet. So just believe that. Don't take that for granted. You might be at a broadcast and you might not think you're famous. My wife doesn't think I'm famous. I don't think I am. But somebody that you meet might think you are. So present yourself that way. You've got to be accommodating and kind and generous to everybody you meet, because you might be the most famous person that they've ever met. And
that's interesting. I never heard that. Yeah.
It still blows my mind, and it's so true, because radio is I guess a form of being a celebrity. I don't feel like that, but I guess it's true. I mean, I am on the radio. Hundreds of thousands, potentially, people are listening to me at one time. I've met my wife's friends that had no idea who I was until I started kind of talking about it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I listen to you all the time." That's kind of weird too, where I run into people that I thought knew what I did for a living, and then they figured it out and put two and two together. Mm-hmm. I'm not a very tall man, but I've got a pretty big voice, so everybody always thinks I should be 6 foot and 250 pounds. So I think that throws off people a lot too. But
sure.
It's an industry and a job that, man, if I wasn't able to do that, I have no idea what I would do.
Would you have been able to do it if you
No.
if you didn't have that support where you could look at home?
No, there's no way I would have been able to afford to be at that point. No, I would have needed a second job, and that's just.
Is that normal for?
I would say so,
to start out?
Because there's just not a lot of hours in radio. A lot of people want to do it, so there's a lot of people involved. So it took a long time for me to become full time, but before that,
How long?
5 years.
Oh, 5 years.
Yeah, but I did a lot there. At first,
So those are like extras from
Yes.
the regular job.
Yeah, that pays the bills.
It's got to be a lot of trust in there too, with the corporation and yourself.
Absolutely.
And he's going out there.
I'm the face of the radio station. at
Right,
that point.
sure.
But before I even had that opportunity, I worked on our sister AM station that was a talk station by producing shows. I used to run the board for NASCAR races, and I had to get up and be at the radio station at 4 in the morning on Sundays. And I did that for a good amount of time, for well over a year.
Do you like AM radio better than FM radio?
It's funny you bring that up, Ed. For a long time, I produced a show on our sister station, WKRS, the Lenny Palmer Show. And it was a talk show. I wouldn't say political or anything along those lines. We talked about everything. Mm-hmm. And I had that opportunity. It was one of my first opportunities that was consistent there at the radio station. And I really enjoyed the show. I really enjoyed being a part of it. And when I had an opportunity to get a full-time position on XLC, I had to think about it for a minute.